I'm Karthikeya Sharma. Today we have 3 on points lined up for you. In on point 1, we discuss a major shift in India's nuclear posture after SIPRI reported that Indian nuclear warheads may now be operationally deployed for the first time. Is India moving from nuclear restraint to a new era of higher readiness amid growing challenges from China and Pakistan? In on point 2, we discuss India's Jojila's tunnel breakthrough and the promise of all-weather connectivity between Kashmir and Ladakh. But as the country celebrates a major engineering milestone, are safety standards keeping pace with India's growing network of mega tunnels in fragile Himalayas? In on point 3, we discuss Prime Minister Narendra Modi surpassing Jawaharlal Nehru's record as India's longest-serving elected Prime Minister. Is this merely a milestone of political longevity, or does it mark the rise of the defining political leader of the 21st century India? Let's take a quick look at the headlines. Congress turns to resort politics in Madhya Pradesh, books flight for its MLAs to Karnataka to prevent cross-voting in Rajya Sabha polls. A day after key India bloc alliance huddle in the national capital, Mamata Banerjee meets Sonia Gandhi separately in a closed-door meeting at 10 Janpath in New Delhi. Fresh trouble mounts for Mamata Banerjee as more than 30 CID officers enter inside former West Bengal Chief Minister's house to investigate MLA signature fraud case. India exposes Pakistan fake news playbook on POK. MEA says Islamabad is spreading misinformation to cover up human rights abuse and growing unrest. And now the on point 1. For decades, India's nuclear doctrine was built on restraint. Nuclear warheads were kept separate from missiles. Deterrence was maintained, but deployment was avoided. That doctrine may now be changing. In a major shift in India's nuclear policy, SIPRI says India has for the first time deployed 12 nuclear warheads on operational platforms. The report suggests that a small number of Indian nuclear weapons may now be mated with delivery systems and deployed on a ballistic missile submarine conducting deterrence patrols. If confirmed, this would mark the first time India's nuclear arsenal has been classified as operationally deployed rather than simply stockpiled. The significance is enormous. A deployed nuclear weapon is one that can be launched at much shorter notice. It signals higher operational readiness and strengthens the credibility of deterrence, particularly through sea-based nuclear forces that are harder to detect and target. The report also estimates that India's total nuclear stockpile has increased from 180 to 190 warheads over the past year. Pakistan's arsenal remains around 170 warheads, meaning India has further widened its lead in South Asia's nuclear balance. But India's strategic calculations are no longer driven solely by Pakistan. SIPRI says New Delhi is increasingly focused on China, which now possesses an estimated 620 nuclear warheads and continues to expand its arsenal rapidly. India's push towards longer-range missiles, submarine-based deterrence, and a strong nuclear triad reflects that evolving security environment. The report comes amid growing concerns of a new global nuclear arms race. All 9 nuclear-armed states are modernizing their arsenals, and SIPRI warns that decade-long trend of reducing nuclear weapons is now being reversed. For India, however, the headline is unmistakable. Not just more nuclear weapons, but a possible transition from storing them to deploying them. A shift that could redefine India's strategic deterrence posture in an increasingly uncertain world. On this issue, I am joined by Major General Sudhakarji, and I am joined by Air Commodore Dr. Ashbinder Singh Bahal. Thank you both of you for joining me. Let me straight away go to General Sudhakarji. General Sudhakarji, my question is very simple. Why 12?
Okay. Karthikeya, good evening. Thank you for inviting me for your show, and my very warm greetings to our distinguished and esteemed co-panelist, whom I actually love to hear. Every word is like pearls of wisdom from him. Brilliant question you have asked. I am the one who's been making similar noises for past several years. Why our doctrine is no first use. As a student of geopolitics and military science, I fail to understand. People may not be aware that out of 9 countries which hold or called as enjoying nuclear status, there are only two countries with no first use. The remaining countries, they have first use doctrine. One, because there is a distinction. He will elaborate. We are fortunate to have Air Commodore Bahal. He's being from Air Force. He will give us the finer aspects. What worries me is that when you talk about no first use, it is based on the paradigm of strategic deterrence, minimum credible deterrence. When you talk about strategic deterrence, there are layers of our preparedness. Now, one thing in your preamble you have missed out, maybe it is not given out in the text, that the trigger to deploy these nuclear bombs is because China is the only country which has come out in limelight, also been reported by SIPRI in recent past, that it has got near Lochner, it has got mated in canisters, it has got mated nuclear bombs. That is why Donald Trump on 6th of February 2026, when the new strat was for 5 years, it terminated in 5th of February 2026, 6th onward it was supposed to have been renewed between Russia and America. He insisted that it is no longer between Russia and America. It also has to incorporate the relevant stakeholders. What he meant was China is one of the countries which has already kept the weapons mated. Generally, nuclear arsenals are not kept mated except for Russia and I would say America to some extent. UK has some, not UK, I think France has got some mated ones. UK also has got some. But China actually keeping them mated is a big threat to the imperial or the colonial mindset of the Americans as also UK. One. Number two, it is there next to Lochner where the test is being carried out. Number three, once the order is given, it is not with the press of a button that the nuclear bomb goes off. It is by a collegiate system. There is somebody who actually recommends, initiates, someone who recommends. I'm trying to put across in a very simplistic language so that our viewers understand, they correlate with their common life. Somebody is initiating, somebody is recommending, and someone is actually approving. Minimum 3 people. Unlike Pakistan, Pakistan is the end all and be all. Munir Saab Jindabad, he presses the button, everything goes off. So unlike that, almost all the countries, they have a nuclear command authority. Here is a case in point between the decision taken and the mating is done, thereafter put on the delivery system. There is a time lag of 45 minutes to 3 hours and plus. Rest, I'll leave it to Air Commodore. You will explain. He being from Air Force, he's got better knowledge.
Okay. So there are 2 points. One, why don't we change it to the first use? Second is, why only 12? I mean to say, what sort of a deterrence you reach by 12?
That's a very nice question. And Jai Hind, and thanks to General Sudhakar. I really love to hear him also. We've been together on many channels. And I'm very distinguished co-panelist. So let me tell you this. First of all, let me take you back to Op Sindoor. And when we carried out strikes on Sargodha, and some even say that we had gone and hit the tunnel entrances of Kirana Hills. I'm not so sure we did it or we did not, but that we dropped bombs very close to Kirana Hills was an indication that we were close to where the nuclear warheads, nuclear weapon systems were stored or parked by the Pakistanis. Now, the second and important thing is, which comes out of that is that whilst we attacked them, it actually brought them to their knees. If you saw the way they quickly requested the Americans, ki band karo, band karo. And next issue was that they did not highlight the nuclear issue a lot during that period of time when we had gone and struck, which means a minimum credible deterrence had worked at that time. They realized that India also has a highly capable delivery system, highly capable nuclear weapons, and mostly focused on more towards strategic nuclear weapons. That means about 100 kilotons or more, rather than the ones which are between 0.5 to 40 kilotons. Now, that is one aspect. Second is, when you keep a very important thing which the general had brought out, if you keep the nuclear weapons separate, separate, and the missile launcher separate, that is the missile which is on the launcher. Now, when we are talking of a containerized missile, which is actually in India, Now, this particular part where the missile is kept separate and the weapon is kept separate, it is known as recessed deterrence. What does recessed deterrence mean? Recessed deterrence means like we had by chance accidentally launched the BrahMos and it had gone and hit somewhere in deserts of Pakistan. If you remember that incident that had taken place, such accidental launches can never take place with a nuclear weapon inside it in any missile. So that is why this recessed deterrent was initially given importance. But what happens in second strike capability, like the general very nicely brought out, if it's a first strike, you have the right, like Pakistanis have a first strike doctrine where they have the right to use the first use of nuclear weapon. We don't have that. We have no first use and no non-use against a non-nuclear state. So when we are looking at these two key factors, then the importance comes in is that we must have some operationally deployed. And those, if they are not operationally deployed, and where are we going to deploy them? So we are going to deploy them on the SSBNs. We currently have 3 SSBNs. The third one came up in April 2026 this year. Fourth one is coming up next year. And after that, there'll be next generation SSBNs. And the current ones have the capability to carry 8 K4s. K4 has a range of a ballistic missile that has a range of 3,500 kilometers. So now imagine the kind of capability we have. We can be in Bay of Bengal, and when we launch in a second strike, where the importance is of survivability and launching quickly, we operationally already are deployed close to Bay of Bengal after leaving Vizag, and we can hit at any part of Pakistan and half of China. That's a great capability, and I tend to agree with General. You must have more. The Chinese have increased their number from 24 to 34 in this last 1 year of those that are operationally deployed. Secondly, the Chinese have 775 silos, which they have created mostly in Xinjiang and near Inner Mongolia, Gunsa region. So now no country in the world has so many silos. China is going whole hog on developing silos as well as increasing the number of nuclear weapon systems.
So
then
let me put the second question, General Sudhakar ji, are we into the second nuclear arm race? All those START treaties are dead?
Absolutely. It goes without saying, in absence of any kind of meaningful and substantive agreement which is existing today. There are none at the moment, by the way. The only thing which was holding out was the New START doctrine or New START agreement, which was signed sometime in 2011 and 5 years duration. 2016 it was renewed. 2021 Joe Biden time it was renewed again, and 2026 it should have been renewed rightfully. At least to keep these two superpowers in the world, keep them engaged and be accountable and transparent. But that hasn't happened. Today, the world is actually at anybody's mercy. It could be if you have a second Donald Trump and also Munir Saab supporting him, then anyone can press the button without any logic, without any checks and balances. Because as it is, the Field Marshal Munir he's got lifetime impunity. He cannot be impeached. He cannot be asked questions. So he can do anything that he feels. What I wish to bring out is, with regard to this question which you have asked, and also Air Commodore, I must compliment him. He's got a very sharp memory. A few months back, I read an article. I think it was some Chinese or maybe Japanese article. And in that article, it said, China has gone on to create silos in the Yunnan province facing towards Arunachal Pradesh. And the target bearings, he had gone on to analyze the target bearings. They were coming close to the east coast of India. I don't have that article, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have quoted that. If this is what is Yunnan? We need to understand. Tibet had 3 provinces to start with. In 1965, what they did, 2/3 of Tibet, that is, if I recall correctly, Amdo and what is the other one? Yutsang, Amdo.
Okay, 3 provinces. Okay.
Okay, Kham and Amdo, these are the 2 provinces. They were merged. 2/3 of this were merged with the existing provinces. Yunnan, you had Yunnan and 3-4 other provinces. You have Gansu, you have Hokkien and all these provinces with China. Only 1/3 of Tibet, because there is a double meaning. There is a huge huge clandestine activity by China going on in order to firstly Haninize or Sinicize the entire Tibet, number one. Number two, militarily dominate all these places. Number three, create an ecosystem. Ecosystem with regard to the nuclear deterrence and the conventional deterrence. In absence of any agreement today, why isn't people or think tanks or thinking people like you are not raising the issue in the media that is India preparing enough? If not, it's about time. Your question is very nicely framed. Why only 12? We should be having equal number, if not more, as that of China. China, if I recall correctly, has got 34 nuclear bombs mated, not only in Lopnur, it is some in Lopnur, some in Yunnan province, and some are closing as closer to the border with the Myanmar, facing whom? Facing
Okay.
Arunachal Pradesh and Andaman Nicobar Island. So these are the issues which I tend to agree with you that we need to rake it up. At least, if nothing, it will help in formulating some kind of a decision. It will enable our decision makers to, to focus and address the issue in a holistic manner.
Dr. Waha, are we looking at two fronts, or are we looking at a contiguous one front now?
Actually, what you are saying is very right. It's actually a contiguous one front, because even when we had Op Sindoor, 82% of the equipment of Pakistan is Chinese. Intelligence they were getting from them. And in fact, you will be very surprised to know Pakistan had asked the Chinese to provide the second strike capability from Gwadar. Now, when I talk to General, my mind gets activated, and he's so intellectual. So, and the Chinese refused. And you'll be very surprised to know that NPT is signed by all the five and about 190 odd members. The people who have not signed it are North Korea, South Sudan, India, Pakistan, and Israel. These are the countries that have not signed it. Rest, everybody has signed NPT. But despite signing NPT, and our Article 6 states that you have to reduce your weapon system, nuclear weapon systems. You have to disarm. And even though it is stated there, China is rapidly increasing its nuclear weapons, 20 in last 1 year. And that's going to make a huge difference onto our own deterrence capability. But let me assure you in one thing,
Okay.
that nuclear weapons, whether you have 200, 300, 500, because China is likely to have 1,000 by the time 2030 comes, and they already have 34 operationalized ones on both SSBNs. They have type 094 and 095 SSBNs, as well as on silos. So now, if we are going to look at a large number like this, we can never compete. But what we can do is, whether you have 200 or whether you have 400, beyond a certain stage is just a number. Because if you use 100, or now right now the Chinese doctrine has moved from credible deterrence. It has moved to limited nuclear war capability. That's why they're going into these silos. Whereas Indian is still minimum credible deterrence. And we should never think of going for a limited nuclear war capability, primarily because we don't need 1,000 or 1,500 nuclear weapons. For us, perhaps, it's my opinion, even 400-500 are more than enough. But we must have, like the general said, more operationally deployed, so that our second strike capability is very quick.
He has been arguing that we should re-articulate our nuclear policy. I think if I've got you correctly, General Sudhakar ji, you are saying that there should be a public re-articulation of the nuclear policy, that we will go for the first use.
We should go in for the first use, because when you talk about a doctrine, what is a doctrine? Doctrine is a statement on a piece of paper. If that doctrine, that statement on the piece of paper is not offensive enough, it does not convey any kind of deterrence, what meaning is it? Is it any penny's worth? Why? I'll tell you why. Kartikeya, one more line if you allow me.
Okay.
Now, if you see the impact, we are lucky that we have a very learned co-panelist, and you will correct me if I'm going wrong. You see, the impact of Pakistan has got tactical nuclear missile. Last year, when I was carrying out a study, and going to give a lecture in one of the IIT PhD students, I was told there are 70 tactical nuclear missiles yet to be deployed, but they have the delivery system. And we may not have a declared kind of a tactical missile. But what I am coming to is, you see, when you state the doctrine, no first use, has anybody discussed the issue that once a nuclear blast takes place, it disrupts all the connectivity, all the communication, and all kinds of, everything. The impact of
Okay.
a nuclear bomb, 15 kiloton nuclear bomb, which was dropped on Hiroshima, Nagasaki was much more than that, 24 kiloton. The impact was such that within a radius of 3.8 kilometers, there was nothing left. Everything was burnt. It was burnt into ashes. There was no telephone
Okay.
connection. There was nothing. So if the connection is actually getting cut off, how does the Prime Minister of India talk to the state governors and the chief ministers? How does an army chief
Okay.
speak to the army commanders? And likewise, how does an Air Force chief communicates with other people? This is called an electromagnetic pulse. Please correct me, Commodore,
No, no,
because you have learned it.
I know you have been. I know you have been making this point, but but I've really run short of time. I know you have been making this point, but yes, I think that's a very important development that the government has officially not said a word on it as to what has happened for obvious reasons. But now it's being widely reported that, and though neither the denial has come, so that's also an equally important part. So I think a strong signal has gone out with the silence as to what India has done very quietly. I thank you both of you for making time for such a riveting conversation on this issue. It's time for a short break, but don't go away, because on the other side we'll discuss the big Jojila tunnel breakthrough and the promise of all-weather connectivity between Kashmir and Ladakh.
आज सम्मान निधि की ये योजना देश के छोटे किसानों के लिए सामाजिक सुरक्षा का एक माध्यम बन गई। एक क्लिक से करोड़ों किसानों के बैंक खाते में सीधे पैसा जमा होता है। दुनिया के विकसित देशों में भी ऐसा संभव नहीं है।
When stories of transformation are rooted in the soil, they reflect a picture of prosperity like this. These are the prosperous and empowered farmers of New India. Behind the success of the country's food providers lies not just their hard work, but also impactful policies of the Government of India focused on farmers' welfare. In 2019, the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme was launched to address the financial needs of the farmers across the country. Under this scheme, farmers receive financial assistance of 6,000 rupees every year, transferred directly into their bank accounts in 3 equal installments. The scheme has already seen the release of its 17th installment, continuing direct benefit support to millions of farmers.
प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान योजना से गरीब किसानों के लिए बहुत ही लाभदायक यह योजना है। किसान सम्मान निधि योजना से मिलने से खाद या बीज सही समय में खरीद पाते हैं। इससे किसानों का बहुत ही भलाई एवं राहत मिल रहा है।
In 12 years of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's public service, India's agriculture sector has written a new chapter of growth. The vision of seed to market has transformed farmers from being just food providers into self-reliant, empowered entrepreneurs, giving them a new identity in a rapidly changing India.
इसमें है फाइबर, बीटा ग्लूकोन, प्रोटीन, मैग्नीशियम।